Hi there, this is Mark Burnett, and it's time to talk about the next step in the Design for a Difference makeover process. Step 4, designing the space. Okay, by now you should have selected a charity, picked your team, and even scouted the location. But if you haven't, it's still okay. Just go back and watch videos 1 through 3 to catch up. I promise you, if you just put a little bit of action right now into the process, it's an amazing amount of momentum will kick in. So when it comes to designing the space, clearly I can't teach you everything there is to know about design. That's not what I'm here for, and that's why you have designers on your team. But there are some things I've learned over the years that I think you should consider, especially when designing for nonprofits. First, invite the team, but let the designers lead. Once you set the date and time for the design meeting, you want to invite everybody on the team, but do not invite staff members from the charity. Really important here is to stay in your lane. Everybody comes to this meeting with a body of expertise, but really let the designers take the lead. After all, that's why you invited them onto the team. This meeting should be at least 2 weeks in advance, and I definitely recommend having it at the showroom. That way you can reference product as you go through the design process. Second, clearly identify the space. It's really important that you set parameters to the makeover process, and that includes agreeing upon what spaces you'll actually be making over. I really encourage you not to bite off more than you can chew. In fact, it's great to come in with lofty, grand ideas, but I've learned over the years that it's much easier to start small. Maybe take a piece of that, and as resources and funds become available, you can always add on and amend the scope of work. So be careful, don't do too much at first. Keep it workable. Third, you want the biggest ROI, or return on investment. In Hollywood, we have an expression, put the money on the screen, which simply means put the money where you can actually see it. So in this case, I would add one more thing, put the money where it matters most. So together, putting the money where people can see it and what matters most is really a winning combination. So let me give you an example. Oftentimes we'll walk into a space and think, wow, it'd be really great to just change out all the ceiling lighting. Well, you and I both know that could take up a big part of the budget. So you want to ask yourself, how critical is it to the people who will be experiencing the space? And from there, just make the decision whether it makes sense to do it or not. As a perfectionist myself, I realized I just can't do everything. So I had to learn to choose my elements wisely. Fourth, design for the people, not yourself. I cannot tell you how many times this comes into play when designers are creating spaces for clients. In fact, I'm guilty of it myself. Early in my career, I was definitely designing over people's heads. And I mean no disrespect, it's just I wasn't taking into consideration the true character and sensibility of the people who actually inhabited the space. So in many cases, I left people living in a showroom, and people don't live in showrooms. Design comes in all shapes and sizes, so it's your job as the design team to really echo the style and substance of the people who are going to use the space. And that will be the charity's staff, its participants, volunteers. All of those should be taken into consideration. Look, we're going to show these spaces to the world, so we want them to be spectacular. But it needs to be spectacular through their point of view, in their world. So we want to find that perfect balance between having them be comfortable in their own skin, but also having the design really improve their lives. That balance is where the magic happens. Fifth, sync your design with manageable resources. Every time we make a decision about a design element, we have to look beyond the aesthetics. You want to consider the lead time of the product, its availability, the price, shipping costs, how are you going to store it, and how long is it going to take to install. In fact, that's the biggest thing to consider. Nonprofits are operational. They open their doors, chances are, on a daily basis. So you can't shut them down for 2 or 3 weeks to install your design. So really consider that as you choose your elements. Now, as a quick sidebar, choose some amazing flooring. Clearly, IDG is an alliance of floor covering showrooms, so we want them to look spectacular, but also make it make sense. So there you have it, 5 things to consider when designing a space. And as always, these are just guidelines. You'll want to tweak the process as you move through it. You have till July 15th to complete this process, and when you do, post a short overview of the design on Basecamp. Have fun, and we'll see you next time.